For this demo, we're going to get started on building a GUI. So we're going to build a new project. So file, new project. There's a lot of different ways to do this. You can see the little plus button, a lot of different options. You can use the one that works for you. If you want to know more about these options, go see some of the YouTube videos out there. There's videos explaining the NetBeans environment a little bit more. So we're going to build a Java application. You can see there's a lot of different options. The options depend on which version you have downloaded. For this class, we just need the basic Java applications that we're going to go build inside of here. We hit next, and then we can build it whatever we want to. Call it whatever we want to. So we'll just have this be a GUI demo inside of here. That's what we're going to name it. And you can see it's building my setup accordingly. So by default, it builds us a little public class. This is just a basic main application, so it's not GUI related at all. We don't need it. We can actually go through and delete it if you want to. You can keep it if you want to, or you can delete it. Now, if you're starting your application, you want to build it all by hand, then you can use that. There's nothing, you don't need to delete it. But what we want to do instead is right click and say new, and then come down to other. Just in case you don't have it in your list, I want to show you where you can find it. And you have this thing down here called Swing GUI Forms. And so inside of here is all the different things you can build as part of a GUI. Now, the panel is the most common thing you're going to build. We're going to build this directly on a JFrame because it's a very simple application that starts up as a window in itself. And so the new JFrame this is going to be our main app, whatever you want to call it. You can call it anything you want to at this point. It just has to conform to Java class name rules. So there's our main application. You can see it gives us a little blank box. Now if I go through and hit the run button right now, we have an application. We can go through and run main application. Since I deleted the other one, I have to pick a new main application, so we pick that. And it goes through and it picks that and it runs that, and it takes a second for it to compile and build it. You can see it's working down here in the corner. Down here you can see the bar is spinning, spinning, spinning. It's going to come up, it's going to pop it up and it run it. Now I'm using multiple monitors here, so it popped up on my other monitor. But you can see when I drag it over here, it popped up in the other monitor, the top left corner, like you can see there. And then it gives us a blank screen. There's nothing on it, but it does give us a little Java icon. It gives us the minimize, maximize, and close, and then by default, since I built it this way, when I hit the X, it closes the application. At this point, we're set up to build a GUI application, and the way we can do it is we can take advantage, and we'll move some stuff around, give us some more space here. You can see you can drag and drop this stuff over here. And you can see all these different swing controls inside of there. So I can take a button and I can add a button inside of here. And I can hit the F2 key. If I double click it, there's a chance that it's going to add an action. We'll see that later on. If I hit the F2 key, I can have this be my submit button. Or whatever I want to name it. Go, save, buy, whatever I want that to be. I can put my text inside of there. Now this button inside of here is named JButton1. And it's a fine name for it. It's got to give it something because it is a J button. It's the first one I added here. And you can see the name of it up here in the properties box. You see the little tab of the properties. Down below, it'll tell you the font of the button. Let's say I don't like that font. Let's say I want to do New Times Roman because that's common inside of there and make it a little bit bigger. I can do that, and you can see the font just changed inside the button. If I don't like black, I can change that color right here. I can make it red text. I can make it, well, purple's my favorite. I want deep purple text. So you can see now that text is deep purple. I'm going to go through and save this. Control S, I'm saving this. I can run it again, and now it pops up again. It came up much quicker this time. You can see, just like we see here, I have a purple submit button. It doesn't do anything, but I can click it. You can see it's a live application. So everything I'm seeing here is what shows up in my application when it runs. Now this is what is the properties box, and it's not super interesting for a button. It's more interesting for other pieces, so let's add something else in. So let's add in a label over here. So label is just some text that shows up on the screen. Again, I can hit F2 and I can say this is your first name, colon, inside of there. And then I can take a text field over here. I can drag and drop that over here. And you can see these little lines that show up. It helps me to align things vertically and horizontally with the other pieces on there. So you can use that. And it'll actually build into the layout manager and help you out with that sort of stuff. Now this text field here, I can actually drag it out if I want to make it much bigger, allow you for much longer first names. And again, there's properties over here. You can see the properties is editable. If I don't want you to be able to edit this box, I can turn that off. I can turn it on. I can also turn it on and off with my code logic if there's different points in code where you don't want it to be editable or you do want it to be editable. All right. There's alignment, there's text, there's all that sort of stuff here, and then the text that goes in here by default is JText field 1. You can see that's what shows up. If I want it to be blank to start with, I can just put in a blank to start with. And there's my first name, and there's my input box. All right, again, I can save this, Control S, and I can run this using my run button, and it pops it up, and all of a sudden I have a text box I can type in. There you go. My submit button still doesn't do anything. I haven't coded it to do anything. We'll do that in a future video here. All right, I hit X, it goes away. I can continue to do this now. I can keep adding things inside here. You can put another label down here. I can see I can left justify the label. I can right justify the label, however I want to do it. So I can put it down here, hit F2, last name. Oh, now it's too big. Oh, there you go. See it automatically justified there. I can bring down another text field and justify that one again. And I have to do all this stuff over again. I stretch it out. I make the text empty, and there it goes. Now, as we were just mentioning, this guy here is J text field 1. You see this is J button 1. This is J text field 1. If I look at the second one, it's J text field 2. Now, my memory is not bad, but I don't want to have to remember, especially tomorrow or a month or a year from now, which one was J text field 1 and which one was J text field 2. So I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the first JText field. I'm going to right click on the first JText field and say change variable name. So I'm going to change this to be first name input. Again, I have to have it conform to Java naming standards. I can name it whatever I want to. It's got to be no spaces, things like that. And ideally I do camel case, lowercase f, capital N, name, capital I, input. I can do the same thing here, right click, change the variable name. This can be the last name input. All right, now it doesn't look like it changed anything except for on this tab here. Now, what it did change is behind the scenes. I can go through and save this again, Control S. I don't have to do that at this point, but you see up here there's the Design tab. I'm going to click on the Source tab, which then has all that other stuff go away and shows me the source code for this. So you can see my main app is actually a Java class. There's no magic to this. Well, there's a little magic to this, but everything that gets produced is just raw Java code. Everything that's going on inside of here, it extends out the base Java class frame, swing frame, JFrame, you can see inside of here. It has a constructor, just like all classes do. In our cases, we've explicitly created it, and there's this method to call init components. Now, what the GUI tool does is it creates this grayed out text, which in the GUI tool, inside of NetBeans, it won't allow you to edit this text. But you can see I have J button 1. Down at the bottom of this class, I have all the items I dragged and dropped on here. J button 1 we just looked at. And now I have first name input, last name input that I created. I have J label 1, J label 2. Now, if I want to rename those first name label, last name label, I totally can. If I'm not using them in the rest of my code, I can just leave them as J label 1, J label 2. I don't have to be perfect in my code. I want to be making my life easier as I do my code. And these names will come into play in a little bit when we get into events, when we're going to do extra stuff on top of it. But if we look back up here, all the stuff that we were doing translated into code. When I changed the name of that label to be first name, it becomes a line of code inside here, set first name. When I changed the last name, it's set last name. When I changed the font, it became some code that it added inside of there. It became the color change inside of here. I changed the text inside of there. So all the actions I take in the designer get saved as actions as far as Java code goes. When I place all these things, you can see it's placing them within a layout manager. There's a special group layout manager that lets us be able to set this stuff up inside of a GUI. We don't need to worry about this so much. Just want you to be aware of all the things I was doing in the property box down here could have been coded by hand. You do not need the NetBeans GUI development tool to build GUIs, but it sure does make our life easier. So we're going to leave it here for now. Hopefully you can go through and build your GUI up. Do exactly what I did here. Drag and drop some stuff out here. change some names of stuff. Keep running it. Have that thing pop up from time to time. Make sure it still works. Make sure it looks like the way you want it to do, that it types things in the way you want it to do. The button's not going to do anything for now, but we'll add that in a future video. But before you go on to the next one, try and give a shot and build your GUI and see if it can look something like this.